Alright, it's time for 6-4 Day 2 notes. We're writing linear equations in standard form. First thing we need to do is remember the other forms because we will be using them. So point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We know slope intercept form is y equals mx plus b. And of course standard form is ax plus by equals c. Don't forget the rules about standard form. X and y have to be on the same side. A has to be positive, and we can't have any fractions or any decimals. So all of those have to be true. So let's start writing equations in standard form. We have a slope of 3 for number 1 and a 0.14. We already know how to write an equation with that. We have a slope, we have a point, so we plug it into point slope form. So that's going to be y minus 4 equals 3 times x minus 1. This is point slope. So now to get closer to standard form, usually I head over to slope intercept. So I'm going to go from point slope to slope intercept and then take it to standard form. Well, to get closer to standard form, we need to distribute the 3. So we have y minus 4 equals 3x minus 3. And then let's go ahead and add the 4 so we can get all of the constants together. We're trying to get the y by itself first, and then we'll bring the x to join it. So when I add the 4, that gives me y equals 3x plus 1. So now we have slope-intercept form. But we ultimately want standard form. So now we need the x and the y to be together. To get the x to join the y, we need to subtract it. When I subtract the 3x, that gives me negative 3x plus y equals 1. But what's wrong with that? There is a negative a value, and that cannot be true with standard form. So we need to multiply everything by negative 1, and that's going to give us 3x minus y equals negative 1. And of course on this step you could have also divided everything by negative 1. That is fine too. But we have it in standard form and all of the rules have been followed. Let's look at number 2. We have a slope of 1/2 and we have the ordered pair for negative 1. I want you to pause the video and try this one and then come back and we'll check our answers. Alright, now that you've tried it by yourself, let's do it together. We're going to take our slope and our point and plug them into point slope form. So that'll be y minus negative 1 equals 1/2 times x minus 4. We have point slope, but we want standard form. So let's start by distributing the 1/2. That's going to give me, well, minus a negative is a positive 1. And then I will have 1/2 x minus 2. And next thing to do is subtract the 1, so that gives us y equals 1/2 x minus 3. Now we're in slope intercept, but we want standard form, so we need this x to come join the y. The way we do that is subtract 1/2 x. So now that'll give us 1/2 x plus y equals negative 3. Two things are wrong with this. I see a fraction and a is negative. Well, to get rid of the fraction, I need to multiply everything by the denominator, which is 2. But at the same time, we can get rid of the negative by making it a negative 2. So if I multiply by negative 2, that's going to give me positive x. Negative 2 times y is a negative 2y. And negative 2 times negative 3 gives me 6. So now it is in standard form. And at any point in the video, if I'm going too fast, feel free to stop the video and rewind it as needed. Alright, let's look at the next type of example. We just did a slope and a point. Well, what if we're just given 2 points? So if I have 3, negative 1 and 2, negative 3, we want to write an equation for that. Hopefully the thing that you're thinking of is that we have to find the slope first. We need a slope, we'll pick a point, and we'll plug it in. So let's find our slope. We're going to do the y2 minus y1. So that's negative 3 minus negative 1 divided by x2 minus x1, which is 2 minus 3. So then on the top of this, I'm going to get negative 2. and 2 minus 3 gives me negative 1, so my slope is 2. Well, I found my slope. Now I need to pick a point and plug it in. So I'm going to use the point 2, negative 3. You use whichever one you want to use. And we're going to plug it into point slope form just like we did up here. So that's going to give me y minus negative 3 is equal to 2 times x minus 2. We're plugging it in. Now we need to get it to standard form. Alright, so first thing I want to do, minus a negative is a positive 3. And then I have to distribute. So that will give me 2x minus 4. Well, now let's take it to slope-intercept form by subtracting the 3. So that'll give me y equals 2x minus 7. Now we have slope-intercept, but we want standard. So let's move the x over to be with the y, subtract the 2x. That'll give me negative 2x plus y equals negative 7. But there's something wrong with this. There is a negative a value, and we need a to be positive. So I'm going to multiply everything by negative 1. When I do that, it gives me 2x minus y equals 7. So there is my standard form equation. I'd like for you to try the next one on your own and then resume the video once you finish. So this is 12, negative 2, and negative 3, 3. Try that one on your own. Alright, now that you've tried it, let's look at it together. We have to find the slope first. So that's going to be 3 minus negative 2 divided by negative 3 minus 12. So on the top of my slope, I'll get 5, and on the bottom, I'll get negative 15. Well, that can be reduced to negative 1/3. So I found my slope. Now I need to pick a point and plug it in. So I'm going to use the point negative 3, 3. And now we need to plug it in. So that will give me y minus 3 equals negative 1/3 times x minus negative 3. Well, first let's get rid of that minus a negative. Minus a negative is a positive. So I have negative 1/3 times x plus 3. It's in point slope. We want standard form. So let's start by distributing. And that'll give us y minus 3 equals negative 1/3 x minus 1. Excuse me. Now let's bring that 3 over to put it into slope-intercept form. So y equals negative 1/3 x plus 2. We have it in slope-intercept, but now we want to take it to standard form. So to do that, I need to add the 1/3 x to both sides. When I add that, I will have 1/3 x plus y equals 2. But there's something wrong with this. I see a fraction, and standard form can't have fractions. So how do I get rid of that fraction? I multiply by the denominator, which is 3. So I'm going to multiply every single thing by 3, and that'll give me x plus 3y equals 6. So we know how to write the standard form equation from a slope and a point, from 2 points. Now let's look at graphs. Well, the first thing we need, of course, is our slope. So to find our slope, we're going to count the rise over the run. Let's pick 2 of these nice points. I'm going to start here. I'm rising 1, 2, and I'm running 1. So my slope is 2 over 1, or 2. Next thing we need is our intercept if it is clear. And in this case, our intercept is clear. We can see that our intercept is 0, 1. Or in other words, that b equals 1 if we're talking about y equals mx plus b. So we have our slope, we have our intercept. We can plug that into slope-intercept form. So that's going to be y equals 2x plus 1. And now we can take this to standard form. So to take it to standard form, first thing to do is get the x and the y together. So that's going to give me negative 2x plus y equals 1. But there's something wrong with this. There is a negative 2x. I need that to be positive. So to make it positive, I have 2 options. multiply by -1, or divide by -1. So when I multiply everything by -1, that gives me 2x minus y equals -1. So go ahead and try this next graph on your own, and then we'll come back together. We need our slope. This one, the intercept is not clear, so you'll have to pick a point and plug it in. So go ahead and try that. All right, now that you've tried it, let's look at it together. First, we need our slope, so we need to count the rise over the run between these points. So I'm rising 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm running 1, 2, 3. So I have a slope of 5/3. The intercept is not clear, and we are not allowed to just guess because we'll probably guess wrong. So what we have to do instead is pick a point and plug it in. We have a slope and a point, so let's plug it into point slope form. That's going to be y minus 3 equals 5/3 times x minus 1. And if you want to use the point -2, -2, go for it. All right, I plugged in 5/3 and my point, so now I need to distribute. So that gives me y minus 3 equals 5/3 x minus 5/3. We need to take it to standard form, so let's add the 3 to both sides, and that gives me y equals 5/3 x plus 4/3. If you need your calculator there, you absolutely may use it. Okay, next thing, we have slope-intercept right now. Let's take it to standard form. So to do that, I'm going to subtract the 5/3 x on both sides. All right, when I subtract the 5/3 x, that's going to give me negative 5/3 x plus y equals 4/3. Clearly, there are some things wrong here. I have a negative a, and I have fractions. So let's get rid of both of those. To get rid of the fractions, I need to multiply every single thing by the denominator, which is 3. But to get rid of that negative sign, I need to multiply by a -3. So let's multiply everything by -3. That's going to give me 5x minus 3y equals -4. And now it's in standard form. X and y are together, a is positive, and all the fractions are gone. So you've got a few problems to do after this, so take your time and work out the problems, put in your answers, and then head to the next video.